I can't believe you. How could you, man? I thought we were pals. I thought we were beyond all that.
I didn't fucking cross you, Joey. Did I cross Donovan?
When he first told me that the Innocent Saga was 10 films, I just, in my mind, was like, fucking whatever. It's like 10 films in 1 year. I mean, he had already done a film. I seen him do 2 films like in a week and a half, and I was like, he can do it. You know, if anybody I know could do it, he could do it. But in my mind, I was like, there's no way you can get people to commit that long. There's no way, you know, it's going to be able to go forward. And I was totally wrong. I mean, everybody committed to it. And I think the thing I've noticed with anybody who ever gets involved with Ponderous is when you're outside, you don't know. If you haven't been on this Ponderous set, if you haven't been involved with it, you don't know. But once you get on that set and you start having fun with Brett and Amanda and Bradley being this, you know, the most vulgar person I've ever met in my life. And there's just a lot of fun going on. And you're just kind of like, all right, yeah, I'll do this. You know, I'll do a 10-year saga with you. Hell yeah. And I pretty much, after a couple days of filming, I was like, this could be fun.
Trying to find the elusive hooker.
My history with Ponderous is that I actually had worked with an actress named Brenda Rivas on a couple shorts, and she told me about Brett, and I was very curious about it because I was involved in a short film thing called Short Ends, and I was the only person who did any kind of action stuff. So when I found out there was somebody else doing action in San Antonio, I was like, I got to meet this guy. I got to meet this guy. And she was like, no, he doesn't work with other people. He doesn't do anybody else's stuff. And I was like, oh, what a prick. Well, forget it. I want to meet this guy. And then about a year went by, and I went to some meetup group, and I met Bradley Bates, thinking he was Brett, and started talking to him. And then MySpace was the big thing then. I mean, of course, nobody uses that now, but I found Ponderous on there, and I added him as a friend. It's like, oh, wait, you know, I met him. I can talk to him. I'm like, hey, we met at this meetup group, and sent this message talking about how much fun it was. And then he get this reply back, that was Bradley, that wasn't me. And I'm thinking, there's no way this guy's going to work with me now. I probably thinks I'm a complete moron. And then like a couple weeks later, there was a casting call for Thugs. And I was like, yeah, I'll go do Thug thing. That'd be cool. So I think I got on the phone with him and asked him if I could come out there. And I said, well, hey, I can do fight coordinating too, if that's cool with you. I'll show you some of the stuff I'd like to do. And he's like, yeah, whatever, you know, just come out. So I went out early. He's like, well, what were your ideas about this fight scene? And I was like, well, where are we going to do it? And he's like, oh, I want you. And he kind of showed me where we're going to do it. And I showed him some ideas. And he was like, okay. And that was it. And I was like, oh, I guess he thought I sucked, whatever. And then all these other stunt guys come, and we go out front, and he's like, okay, guys, you know, this is where we're going to film it. We're going to do this, and this is the fight coordinator. See you later. And he walks off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the fight coordinator. Okay, let's do this. And I ended up spending the whole day doing all this stuff and teaching everybody how to do it. And at the end of the day, Brett was like, you know, I want you to be our fight coordinator all the time. You did a good job. And I was like, cool, that sounds great. Yeah. In my mind, yeah, whatever, dude. And then I got like a call like a week later saying, hey, we're doing this other fight scene. And then it became like, he was like so excited he had somebody who could, you know, do this choreography. It was like I was doing like a little fight scene for this one, or re-choreograph this. And I think I did like 7 different little scenes and film stuff for him in a couple months time period. And one of them, one of the actors didn't show up, and he asked me if I would take a place of this actor, and I was like, sure, no problem. And I was like, well, what are my lines? He's like, well, just make something up. And I'm like, okay. So I did this scene, and I was like, hey, you know, because even though I'd choreographed a lot of these fight scenes, I hadn't done a fight myself. So I was like, hey, can this guy fight? And he's like, yeah, go ahead and do a quick fight scene. So we do I did the fight scene, I did this acting thing, just ad-libbed whatever, and at the end of the day, he kind of took me aside, man, you're a really good actor, you're a great fighter, we got to make you a lead in something. And I'm like, okay, thanks. You know, I think in my mind, like, yeah, whatever, it's never going to happen. And then he calls me a couple days later, and he's like, hey, would you be a bad guy? And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I've always wanted to be like the Jet Li to somebody else's Mel Gibson. I was like, yes, I get to be the bad guy. And so then I got the ballerina, and I got to be the bad guy, and it was a lot of fun.
Chance? The cops? Who else did you call? FEMA? Oh, big surprise, they're late.
With Brett, as anybody's ever worked with Brett, you know, most of pre-production storylines, all that kind of stuff is done over barbecues and cigarettes out front. And he one day kind of said something about something called the Innocent Saga. And I was like, you know, I had no idea what he was talking about. And he's like, there's this character, Joey, I think you'd be cool for. And I was like, okay, well, what is it? He kind of gave me the two things about it. He was like, you know, oh, he does technology and he does this and he's a hacker. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's boring. And then he's like, but he turns. And he gave me this little thing. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then a couple of weeks later, he sent me some script and started reading it. And I was like, okay, cool. And that's pretty much how I got involved with Brett and just ended up doing the Innocent Saga. The hardest thing about being a fight coordinator is definitely getting those people who have no idea what they're doing. And you will run into somebody who just simply doesn't know left from right, can't step, can't remember anything, and you just have to do your best to make sure everybody is safe. There have been a couple things where, you know, I'll say this honestly, Brett is an editing god. Because I was on set for some of those fight scenes, and it's just like, wow. And then he'd show me it later. I'm like, hey, look at that. It looks cool. So sound effects, editing, save all fights. We have this thing called the Day of 1,000 Mercs. And in independent film, there is a thing about extras. That you never get enough extras. I've got a bar, we got to fill it up. You got 2 people to show up. And you end up with an empty bar or whatever. Or we've had other things where, okay, you know, we're going to do the Dove and we're going to have 18 people in a big old fight scene. And then nobody shows up and you end up with 3 guys just use them over and over again. So we had this scene where it's supposed to be these SWAT guys, these mercs. And I'm thinking in my mind, okay, you know, he says there's going to be 10, so that means there's going to be like 5. And I show up and I've got some stuff in my head, and then the trucks just keep coming, and the vans keep coming, and the cars keep coming and coming and coming. And before we know it, there's about 20 or 30 people there. And I'm like, okay, cool, this will be fun. You're going to have the filler and everything. And then I'm choreographing a fight scene and kind of going through some stuff with a couple guys. And then Brett's like, hey, Matthew, come here for a second. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, okay, look, Jake told everybody that they would fight you while they're here. So you need to fight everybody, somehow figure out fight scenes for all of these people. And I was like, there was that moment of like, how the hell am I going to do this? And then it was like, oh, I'm going to do this. So it was like so badass just to be able to, like, you know, any guy who does action movie martial arts stuff, your dream is to have like the one moment where you're by yourself and everybody keeps coming and you're like, oh, break this guy and I hit him and just have a lot of fun. So it was like, just like, you know, a kid in a candy store. And then, you know, the next day I could walk, but you know, whatever. It was fun. The Pumper's way of making films is pretty much just go do it. I mean, there's 3. I like to say there's 3 kinds of directors. There's pre-production whores, there's completists, and there's artists. Pre-production whores is that filmmaker who every time you meet them and you see them, they've got a movie coming up, and they're gonna make that movie, and they're waiting for film, and they're waiting for money, and they're actually waiting for nothing. They never make the film. Pre-production horror, it happens all the time. I hate those people. Then you have the artist, which is number 3, and that's that person who wants to get this angle, and it's got to be this and this, and what you end up realizing is it's a crap story, it's a crap film. But it all looks kind of pretty, but they don't really know why they're doing it. So that's pretty bad. And you have completist, and that is something that Brett is. Brett will say, I'm going to make this film, and he's going to go make that film, and then you're going to see that film. More than likely, he's going to premiere that film, or he's going to show it to you. And that is something I really enjoyed about working with Brett, is that I knew that, okay, he's going to make 10 films, he's going to finish 10 films, and I'm going to see those 10 films. He's going to make, you know, every film he's ever talked about with me, everything we've ever, you know, any idea. He said, once he said, we're going to go make this, I knew that was going to happen. And then just actually making it. I mean, you know, it is independent film. We don't have a tremendous amount of money, if any, to do this stuff. And, you know, whether it's a changing of lighting or, you know, just going out there and get it done, he always does that. And there's a lot to be said for that. And I really do enjoy that aspect of working with Brett. Anybody who kind of says low budget equals crap, I would just have to say, man, fuck your mama.